Okay, everybody, let's talk LEDs. So in this class, my whole plan of attack is to kind of answer questions that you guys have, right? So we'll cover basics of lighting and what you can do with it, and then I have a ton of weird stuff for you guys to look at and touch and do whatever you want with it. So I've got boxes of weird stuffs. All right, so first off, my name is Dan Williams. I do teach here at Full Sail, and I'm in the web department, so I'm one of those nerdy people that likes to code. So there will be a little bit of coding, but the good news is today is it's very simple, and there's lots of stuff online to look at, so we'll kind of go through all the different stuff as well, so we can kind of do that. If you guys have questions, just let me know. There's only, a couple of us, so just be like, what is that, or what? Answer your question. All right, so let's start with, I guess, the basics of what lighting and LEDs is, because I think that's always a good place to start, right? So lighting, and especially for lighting for costumes, can come in a lot of different ways, right? So the basic way is just these basic LEDs. So it's a light emitting diode, which basically means when voltage passes through the light emitting diode, it converts the voltage to light, which is the weird part about it, right? So that's kind of what it does. But a diode in general, in a circuit, only allows current to go one way. Okay, so that's kind of what it does. And they said, hey, we can do something with that. Let's make it shine. And that's what they did, right? So a normal LED kind of looks like this, and not one of my blades. Let me actually come over here for a second, push those out of the way. And something kind of like this one. I thought I had a different one, a bigger one over here. Oh, I removed it. There we go. So this one is kind of like a giant LED. You can kind of see what it is, right? And every kind of LED has two different things, an anode and a cathode. And those are going to be like the longer and shorter ones. Okay, so here's kind of a nice quick tip. The longer pole on any LED is always going to be the positive one. All right, so think positive people, longer. Negative people, you're short. Okay, one of those. No, you don't have to be. Doesn't go for people, just these things. All right, so there's a couple different LEDs in general. Right, so there is the simple ones, which looks something like, if I can get them out of this little baggie, something kind of like these, right? Where normally LEDs are going to start with two lines, okay? And if they have more than two, something example of like this one that has three, those are going to be able to change colors because the extra pins control the data for changing the colors of the lights, okay? So a lot of people, when they get started with this, they don't know where to begin, all right? So I'll tell you where I begin. I begin by taking apart existing things, because that's my favorite thing in life, right? So anytime I find cool things, literally anywhere, right? So I buy them and I put them in a drawer and I just have them kind of sitting around. So I'm gonna dig out now is something from Disney, right? Maybe. I have a lot of crap in these. All right, so these are the new Tinkerbell wings that they have at the parks, right? But one of my other side gigs is I do work at Disney, and so they have a thing called property control where they sell broken stuff. So I love that because this in the parks is $35, but if you buy it there, it's $1. Okay, $1, which is nutty, right? And then you can see on the camera, we're talking about this, the Tinkerbell light wings. All right, so one of my favorite things to do is just tear them apart to see how they work. All right, so the insides of these look like this, which is quite cool. All right, I'll put it up here for the other things. Wait, I think this is literally everything except oh no, there it is. No, it's not. All right, well, we'll try to show this. All right, so these are literally the inside of the wings, okay? So if you look, these are actually the lights that control, right? So these are the LEDs, and then they have a battery pack, and then they have a built-in right here, a chip controller. Can you guys see that, or is that? I'll just pass it around. All right, wait a minute. Boop. All right, good. So what my favorite thing to do in what I suggest you guys doing, just starting out, is take existing things, tear them apart, and then just use this, right? Because that whole entire wing is gigantic. But this is like 8 LEDs that are already controllable by a button, and it has a battery pack that you can just cut away the extra plastic for it, and then that's a whole thing, right? For $1, right? I love it. So it makes me kind of happy. But there's other things that you can do, and they don't have to be this complex. But the cool thing about these Tinkerbell wings is that they already set to change colors, they rotate, so you don't even have to bother with it, right? But if we want to start simple, one of the first things that I ever made was Iron Man repulsor ray like gloves, okay? They're crazy, but I went to the dollar store and I got night lights, like the little book light things, tore them apart, I took the LED out of it and the little battery clip, and I put it in hot glue, and then it had light up repulsor rays that were just kind of like little hot glue discs that you could project on it, right? So another example that we did is something like these. So how many people know what Naruto is? Right? Okay, everybody good? All right. So we did some costumes for it, and so one of them that we did was Azuma, right? So Azuma has these cool blades that he forms out of his chakra, and they light up and everything like that, right? So we did these, and it's a super simple circuit because all it is there's 2 LEDs inside of it and a battery pack, okay? So the thing about this is these right here are just inside of this, right? So all I did was cut some plastic, put 2 LEDs in, and then attached a battery pack. So the cool thing is, if you guys live in Orlando, right? Everybody lives here, good. Have you guys been to Skycraft? No? Yes? Oh, okay. Step 1, go to Skycraft, because it's fantastic. Literally, it's like a junk man's heaven. It's delightful, right? So they sell these little battery packs for like $1, right? And all they are is, let me try to turn that back off, is they have these little batteries inside of them that look like this, right? So you put the batteries in, you close it, then it turns these 2 batteries, which each one is 3 volts, right? And then to 6 volts, which can power easily 2 LEDs. And so all we did was just solder them together, put some little tape on it, and you're good to go, right? So that's kind of like, you can do cool things with simple things. So that's kind of the other big thing about it, right? But there are gonna be a couple different things you can't do just by connecting a battery. Yeah. So you have to work there. That's kind of the key thing about it, right? It's called property control. Yeah. Yeah, because some of it's like broken stuff or stuff that doesn't sell, but it's kind of like the cast connections that they have at like the outlet malls. They sometimes have this kind of stuff too, right? But then normally I go to like Goodwill, and anything that lights up, I usually will just steal it. You know, not steal it, but maybe I'll give them $1 for it. But the things that I do steal, and I probably shouldn't say this out loud, is when I go to parties, they have these big giant light up sticks that they just kind of turn on and off, right? And they're meant to be thrown away, so don't judge me, right? But what I do is every time I see these at any club or party that I go to, I steal it. And then I tear off all of the foam, and what you're left with is something like this, or like literally I have bags and bags of these because I love these, because these become a lot of different stuff. So it's something like, can you guys see that one? Right? So you can actually see where the foam is that I tear off, because I'm just like, forget it. Just throw that piece away, and then you just got 2 cool LED lights, and the batteries are in it, and it comes with a button. And they sell these for like $1 or $2. So like anytime you see anything light up, grab them. And then you basically just have like a flashing LED light that you can put in literally everything, right? Right. So the same LEDs that are here, by the way, I actually tore apart and put in these because I didn't want to pay for a new LED because I had a ton of LEDs, right? So the thing about this is all you have to do is chop them off. You can actually just take a pair of pliers and just snip it if you want, you know what I mean? And then you have a new LED that you can use. The key thing that you have to remember is there's a positive and negative side, so you have to make sure that that is correct. So you kind of keep that in mind. So maybe snip one short and stuff like that, all right? So this is another good way of doing it. The other thing that I really enjoy, and a good way to start out if you don't want to do programming, so I'll kind of say that as well, because programming is going to be much more difficult, because these are the easy stuff, right? Because they're LEDs, they're like, you put a battery on it, and you're good. It's kind of where it starts, right? Now, the more complicated stuff is going to be the neopixels and the changing color LED lights and all that kind of stuff. So we'll talk about that next too. What was I going to show you? I came over here for something, and I don't remember what it was. Don't you hate that? Because you're like, I did the LEDs. Oh, got it. So, yep, you're like, no, displays. By the way, this is Ray. I drag him around. He tolerates it. All right, what I'm looking for is the bag, Ziploc bag with all the little discs in it, the little light-uppy things. It's got to be right here. For those of you that are watching this later, I have giant boxes of weird stuff all over, and it's literally all over. That would make sense. I did. You were good. All right. So these I bought at Lowe's on Black Friday, right? Because it was such a good deal that I couldn't help myself. That they are preset, come sticky, and they run by little double or triple A's, right? And so they just kind of slide off. You put the batteries in like that. Of course, these are dead. So the ones I tried to show, isn't that a thing? But they kind of already look like an Iron Man armor, you know? It's like just by themselves, I think they're cool. Now, the neater thing about these is I'll tear one apart for you in a minute so you can kind of see. But all it is a controller inside of it that you don't have to program, because what you can do is it comes with like a little remote. So that's kind of a neat little thing for you. All right, there we go. And they are super duper bright, which is crazy, if I can get into it. So that's what they kind of look like, right? So you can kind of see later, giantly bright. They look like Iron Man. And then they have this controller that comes with them. Looks like that, right? So literally, you can just change the color of it at any given time. So like if it's on your costume, you can just have this in your pocket and be like, oh, I want it to be blue, or I want it to be green, I want it to be white, right? You can also control the brightness of it, which is kind of neat. And literally, these came out to like $1.50 a piece. But I bought like, I don't know, 8, maybe 10, because they come in a pack. That's how they come in the thing, right? But think about what you could do with that just by itself, right? But inside of it, you can actually tear it apart even further if you want it, right? So that's kind of the key thing about cosplay in general, is we take something that exists and we destroy it to make something better, which is more fun, right? All right, so inside of these, you know what? I don't know if I brought my little screwdriver. I think I forgot the screwdrivers. Damn it. All right, we can kind of see here how it actually works. So I'll kind of show you. Do you? Yeah. Yeah, these are called Defiant. Yeah. Boop. Is that backwards? Everything's backwards. Oh, darn it. Lovely. But
Pause the video for a second.
right.
Spell it out.
Defiant, just how it sounds. Right. So it's kind of fun, but they're from Lowe's, literally like Home Depot kind of a thing. Crazy. They were just in a pack and be good. Hello. So if you guys have a little tiny screwdriver, we can tear it apart. If not, we'll deal. Because you can kind of see what's inside of it here. Maybe if I can actually get it to focus. Maybe not. I'll just pass them around. So, is it? I know, but I'm like, it's a bright light, so I'm trying to get it to go on the other 3. Because you can actually see that there are 3 individual LEDs that make it up. There's a circuit board inside of it that communicates with a little remote control. So it's kind of neat because you can control one at a time, or if you have multiple on your costume, so let me put some more batteries in, that can actually control them all at once. So that's kind of neat as well. All right, so. Haha, exactly. That becomes more fun though. All right, so then if you want to, you can make them both green, both blue, and both white, whatever you want, right? So it's kind of neat. The other cool thing about these is you don't actually have to have the remote, because you can actually just cycle through them by pressing them as well. Exactly, right? But I plan on using these in a couple of my costumes, but you know, if you guys want to see them, have at it. Does anybody want to pass these around? Oop, and I just threw an LED on the floor. So you can see, they're just like tap lights. And you can see they come apart quite easy, which is nice. Bank. But if you're 3D printer people, you can actually print another base and you can just pop it on, which is kind of cool.
You do some gems?
You can. So the fun thing is that, okay, let me start here. I used to be on a TV show a long time ago, all right? So it was Stan Lee's Who Wants to Be a Superhero? And on the show, I made one of my major weapons was like a thing I wore on my arm, and on it was a changing color LED. So it looked a little bit like this, right? Smaller though. And I made my own gem out of hot glue, and all it did was just change colors. So I had a rotating, changing color gem. But this was like 12 years ago, by the way, which was quite cool back then, because everybody's like, oh my gosh, your costume lights up and everything like that. And I'm like, ha. And all it was, a simple thing that I bought at Skycraft, which was just a changing color LED and a battery. But back then it was super cool though. But yeah, that's how I got started a long time ago with all this kind of stuff as well. So it makes it more fun. All right. Every now and again, it pops back on, and it's always strange because, like, every now and again it pops back up. So it's like a thing that never quite goes away. All right. So some of the other.
Always on you.
Yeah, this was actually kind of before then. Like, it was a long time ago, so it was kind of crazy. All right. Oh, thanks. Perfect. All right. So, other existing things, all of these stuff come out of dollar store toys, like just dollar store toys. Because literally, you can get flashing LED lights that are already done, whatever you want it to do. But the bad thing about this is usually these things only stay with one color, and they usually can't control them very much. Okay? So it's either usually on or off, blinky, not blinky. That's pretty much about it. Right? All right. So, I did want to try this to see if I could actually get this one to light up. Hang on a minute. Because I don't know if yeah, okay. So this is an example of an LED that changes color by itself, right? So there is no controlling it. Literally, all I'm doing is just taking a battery, and these are 3 volts. So you can kind of, maybe I'll just do this. Is that going to focus or not focus? There we go. Everything's backwards, so I don't know why I keep showing you people things like details, right? Right. But these are just CR2032 coin cell batteries, but they actually come in a couple different voltages. So the number of them, the 2032, are 3 volts, but they have other ones that are 1.5 volts. All right. So most LEDs will light up with the 1.5, but they work better with the 3. But it's kind of fun because you can push it usually up to 5 or 6 volts, and then after that you're going to fry it. So be careful with it. But literally all I'm doing is just taking this multicolor changing LED, right? The 3-volt battery, and then you make sure that remember this bigger one is always positive, so you find the positive side of it. You shove it in, and then you have a changing color LED that you can literally put in anything, right? So the thing about these that I've seen people do, and it is super low tech, is they just, when they're ready to wear the costume, they put it on here, they tape it to themselves, and they don't even bother with soldering, which is a thing, and it's fine, but it's kind of a less permanent solution. You know what I mean? So if you're going to do something like this, right, then that's where one of these little battery things comes into play. Because this, all it does is take that battery and converts it to 2 wires, a positive and a negative one, right? So that's kind of the fun part of taking this and making it a little cooler. But yeah, at least something. All right, so basics LEDs usually are one color, right? So it's usually white, blue, red, or green. You might find like a yellow or every now and again or something like that. But generally speaking, those are the main colors. All right, any other colors that you guys are wanting, probably you're gonna have to use something like a NeoPixel or an LED strip. All right, guys are never gonna shut off. Screwed that up. All right. So NeoPixels are going to be much more interesting. But wait, do you guys have any other questions about basics of an LED? Like, have any questions around those or batteries? Yeah.
It's just when you put LED,
Oh.
how will it fire?
Yeah.
And then your fireball.
Hopefully not. But majority of these, the LED lights are actually not hot. So they are very cool to the touch even when they're on. So you don't really have to worry about that. So it's kind of nice. The NeoPixels tend to not warm up, but they can be a little, but they're usually not bad. You'll never scorch yourself and you're never going to catch on fire. So yeah. Question back there? These ones? So it's fun because they're generic. So they don't actually have a name. So they are coin cell battery packs. And these ones I got from that Skycraft place, which I love these because they're, I think, $1.95, so like $2, right? But it holds 2 cells, which gives you 6 volts, and can you guys see? It has like this little switch on the top of it already built in. So it's super nice. And all you can do is you can just add more wire to this, and you can extend it so you can have this sit in your pocket, and you can actually control something like on the middle of your costume, right? Or maybe you can have it in a battery pack in the back or something like that. But it's like a little fun little switch that controls it very nicely. Just turns it on and off. Yeah. They do. Yeah, questions?
So when you're putting into a costume,
Correct. So a majority of these things will, it depends upon the batteries and how long they last, I'll tell you that. But like, a majority, like just simple LEDs will last you for a whole con, for like a whole day at a con. You should be fine with just normal things, especially if they're just like normal, like that kind of battery or like that kind of LED. It's pretty normal, right? They're very low power, so you should be good. If you do the NeoPixels, those are energy zappers, and they will eat everything that you possibly can. So you do have to have backup batteries for those, and those are going to be kind of painful because the batteries are much more complex. So we can talk more about that too. But yes, so you're going to have your batteries hidden usually. I always wear like, if I wear them, it's probably like I make a backpack for it, or what I do is I sew myself like a fabric pocket, like with a little zipper on it or some like Velcro, and then I kind of hide it somewhere where nobody's going to notice it. That's kind of where I do it. And then I just increase the size of the wire all the way to it. Yeah. 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 These? Okay, so red is generally always positive and black is always negative. Yeah. That's always the way it goes for most things. Yeah. But it makes it more fun. Yeah.
So one of the things I was envisioning to try to make work is I bought some.
Oh, all right.
So, and I kind of built the solar cell in costume.
Interesting.
Power cell.
Solar power is always interesting for it because it works sort of, but if you're inside of the convention, technically the LED lights above us aren't the same as natural sunlight, so they don't power it as well. So it doesn't really work
they
that
don't
way.
really build storage into those too much.
Yeah.
Because it's not very much.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's still something to play with, so I vote yes. But yes. All right. Any other kind of questions about the simple LEDs? So suggestions, find cheap toys, tear them apart. Good. Right. Another thing is the mini book lights at the dollar store. Best thing I could ever buy. I always have like a whole stack of those on hand because I buy those quite a lot. Because they already have switches, they already have a battery pack built in, and they have like a LED that you can just take apart and you can just put it into something else. That's pretty much about that. Before we go into NeoPixels, I do want to show you a couple more things. So like, have you guys heard of L-wire before?
Yes.
L-wire or L-panels? Okay. I'll show you a little bit about them, but I hate them. So I'll just pre-warn you.
Absolutely hate them.
Yeah. So, but I usually get questions about them, so I brought a couple, right? So these are examples of an L panel. All right. So an L panel is like a piece of paper almost, because it's super thin, right? But what it does is when you apply a current, it actually lights up, which is kind of nutty, right? But it's extremely high voltage for what it is, and it doesn't produce a lot of light, which is always strange to me. So it doesn't take a normal battery pack either. It takes a special kind of battery pack. So here is an example of one battery pack for it, and here's a different one, and I'll explain the two different types of these for a minute. But if you're going to do these, they're going to be painful to work with, so just kind of watch it. And they do come in different kinds of varieties of them. So they kind of come in either the flat panels, which are these, but they do come fairly big, which is kind of neat, right? Or they'd come in strips like this one. So once you apply a voltage across it, it actually all lights up, but not very well. So that's my thing with these things. Or you might see L-wire, which this is an example of an L-wire. Okay? So all these things work on the same principle of it. You apply a current past it. It's basically phosphorus. So when you do it, then it lights up from them. All right. So let's plug one of these things in, and I'll show you basically on how it works. Do I have the batteries for this? No, but I think I shoved them in my pocket. I'm going to put this one in first. Hey, Ray, is my 9 volts over there? Here. Thank you. See, he puts up with me. All right.
I would say it's
Yeah. Give me 1 second. Let me plug this back in, and then I will try to move some stuffs. All right. Give me 1 minute. So, All right, that's going to be a minute. So I'll move this away. Get this out of the way. This we're going to talk about next, so I'll put it over there because you know I'm going to lose it. This is actually an example of that one too, so I'll push those out. All right, so there we should be good. All right, let me figure out what the hell is going on with these things, and there we go. All right, so, right, but it looks cooler on camera, but if you look at it in person, that's how bright it is, right? So it's neat in theory, but like we got these because we were doing green lanterns, so we were going to try to like run them through our outfits and stuff like that. But when you start working with it, it's kind of not impressive, especially in light, because it's just like, ugh. But if you dim the lights, super neat, right? But who's going to be dipping lights at a con? So that's kind of the thing. But if it's photo shoots, absolutely, right? So that's kind of how that works. Now, the thing about these is you do need to have a converter, so it's not just a normal battery. So it actually converts this to an alternating current, which is that. All right, so the first part of this one is just an on-off. So it has the blinking modes that you can do, or just off, or completely on. So that's really all the different choices for this. Neat, but not that neat, all right? So the other thing that we could do is we can use the slightly more expensive, but still cool one. And that's this. Let me put a 9-volt in this one, because this one actually runs on 3 volts, so it's just 2 AA batteries for that one, right? This one is 9 volts, so it's going to last you a lot longer. And let me give you an example here. Boop. All right. Maybe. Unless I picked a dead battery. Yes. I took these from our camera box. So, of course, I picked a dead battery. That's nice. Hey, Ray, can you give me that other 9-volt? Thank you. Take 2. Hold on a minute. All right. This is about as fun as watching paint dry, isn't it? All right, I think that worked. Well, this is an example. It's horrible, because apparently both of these batteries are dead. But here's the main difference between these. So this one actually has an on and off button, but it also has, can you kind of see it? This camera is good and sucks at the same time too. There we go. So these also have dials. So what you can do is they control the brightness level and the flashing. So it's kind of neat because you can have custom control over it. So it's kind of much better than a normal one, right? So those are going to be the main differences. I do want to show you one of the panels, but for that it's going to take me a minute because we're going to have to get some more techie stuffs. So, and let me get that. Okay, so when you're working with L panels, there's generally like an outside rim and there's an inner rim of it. So you can cut the L panels, which is kind of neat. So they can be cut to most any shape and sizes, as long as you still have 2 sides of it. So for example, these panels, that's the back of a panel, right? So there's a left and a right side, okay? So you can cut these basically anywhere, as long as you have a left and a right side, right? Now, once you cut them, they lose some of their integrity, okay? So you do have to make sure that you put tape along the edges for anywhere you cut them, because it's like Scotch taping will work, so it kind of holds it together. But the problem with this is it uses extremely high voltage, so that kind of sucks, because it can actually arc and spark. So that actually might catch you on fire. Right. So that's going to be more entertaining, right? So now what I'm doing is I'm just going to add a couple, there you go. Words, Dan, words. A couple of jumper cables. So I'm just putting these in here just to kind of show a point. So I'm just putting them to the end of the controller unit. And then I was going to hook them with some alligator clips so we can kind of make one of these panels light up so you can see the difference. Maybe. We'll see if we can get it to work. But L panels, not that reliable. I don't know if I would actually recommend them at all, but yeah. We use these, right? So the reason we actually use these and the reason I bought them is we were doing Shazam Cosplay and Pedro, right? So we made light up gauntlets. And so we use these, actually we use specifically these. So they come in different colors as well. So I use these yellow ones and I put them as strips in it, and then we just powered our gauntlets by them. So a little fun. It kind of worked because we made them go on flash, and we were at a dark party, so that's kind of the main reason it worked. All right, so this is an example of an L panel that's lit up. All right, so let me kind of make it flash. You can kind of see there. And then in real life, it looks like this. So it's not too bad, but they're not easy to work with. They don't really sew very well, but they do make a new brand of these that actually is sewable, so that's kind of neat, but I don't have any of those yet. But they are getting better, and the problem is they're not very bright. So that's kind of my thing about them. Like, you have to have a specific reason you would use them, and they're slightly more dangerous. All right? So that's what that one looks like. If you guys want to see, so this one is a blue in color, and most of them have a blue tint to them, no matter what color you get. But they come in like pink and yellow and blue, I've seen. I just shocked myself. That was fun.
No hurting yourself.
Right?
You don't need to do paperwork.
So that's yellow. Yeah, I work here, it's fine. So this is kind of what the yellow one looks like. Right? So each one has its own little thing. And the place I said before, Skycraft, by the way, I don't work for them, I swear. But I love that place because I go there all the time. And they just have weird stuff. What? Yeah. Yeah, it's right down Fairbanks and it's right by F4. Yeah. By car.
Probably see that doing
Field trips would be great.
about that before.
Yeah. They're really fun there, and the thing I like about them is if you don't understand something, all the people that work there are techie weird nerds, which is delightful. Because I'm like, tell me more about this. And the guy's like, what do you want to know? And I'm like, how to make this work? And he's like, yeah, you need this and that. And so I was like, yes, it's good. And they have these, like this one was $1. Like this one was $1 because I was trying to make a gigantic one the size of a lightning bolt. And the weird thing about this one is, like you can kind of see the back of it. This one has a left and right channel, but it's a left and right side. So this is one side and this is one side. But I didn't leave enough room on the one, like the tinier side, because it's split right here, which you can kind of see more maybe on that side. Can you see the split? So that's the two different channels. So trying to get these to talk to each other, it sort of worked, but it was kind of horrible, right? But for $1 to play with it, it's pretty good. And I think the chargers and like the actual power packs, do you remember how much they were? I think we bought like a pack of maybe like 8 or 10 of them for like maybe $20 because these all came, like the simple ones, they came with the L wire. So we actually got every single color of L wire that they have. $8? These? Well, that was nuts. So $8 gets you all the L wire and the chargers and stuff like that, which is, you can't really beat that deal. But you have to know what you're getting. So the reason I would actually use these is if it's going to be a static thing or you're going to put it in something that's like 3D printed or something that's not going to be touching your skin, let's go with that. Then maybe an L panel's for you. Anything that's going to be touching your skin, no, because literally like these are exposed, and even if you cover them, you're still going to have some sort of risk for shock. So I don't know if I would do that. Okay, so that's kind of my 2 cents for that. Right. L wire, on the other hand, is nice because it doesn't really spark at all. It has usually always a connector already built into it, so you don't really have to do anything to it. And they're good, and you can sew them because you just have to use a zigzag stitch over it, and you can actually trap it inside of it. The other thing I've done with it before is to create a channel. So you just kind of make like a tiny little pocket, right, all along the way, and then you can thread it through there. So that's another way to do it. Especially in white material, this actually works pretty good because the white material reflects the different lights. So you kind of, the whole thing will just have a green glow to it if you want that or something, you know? Because the other thing about LEDs in general is they're very pinpoint. So like the LED looks bright usually in one direction, but it's not usually omnidirectional. So you can kind of use different things to reflect it or to maybe diffuse the glow. So you don't have little hot spots and stuff. Right? Hot glue is something I use all the time. Tissue paper, weirdly good. Like cling wrap actually is fun. Like a lot of that kind of stuff. Anything that will take the light in and kind of put it back out. All right. Any questions on L wire? It does. Yeah, I don't really like it either. But I haven't. I played with it and I'm just kind of like, ugh. But
The strips, one of the things with those is because you can cut them if you like.
yes. So that, like this all came as one big strip, but you can cut it no matter where it is, but you just have to make sure that you still have the two channels. So like you can kind of see on the back of that one, there's a left and a right side. So you can't cut them this way, you have to cut them that way. So they both have the same channels. Yeah. Yes. I was gonna get to it because literally I was holding it because I'm like, yep, you're good. So, like this one is a predetermined and set panel, so it actually has the two little connector points for it, so you can connect the voltage, right? Now the problem is when you cut them, right, you don't have those. So this is where things get even worse because you can still use them, but you have to expose some of the actual material underneath it, and then you can either solder directly to it or use any kind of like jumper cables for it too. Okay. The other thing that you can weirdly do, like a jumper cable, I just mean like an alligator clip. Weirdly, what we did is you can use Scotch tape. So this is kind of like sticky, all right? So it's kind of like an adhesive. So all I did was pry up a little bit of it, and then I shoved wire inside of it, like that kind of a thing, right? And it gets trapped inside of the stickiness. And that's actually enough for it. And then I just put a piece of Scotch tape over it. So my Shazam gauntlets are held together literally with Scotch tape. Mm-hmm.
So like I still need 3 or something.
Yep, totally. I'm actually allergic to super glue, so I tend not to use them. So like, I'm not really a gluer because, yeah, allergic sucks. Yeah. Any other questions I can tell you about L panels, L wire, anything like that? L strips, that's the 3 different names of them. And it's L-E-L, not the letter L, because electronic, right? All right. All right. Any questions? Everybody good? All right. Sounds good. Okay. So I think the things we're going to talk about next is we'll start with the NeoPixels, but let's take a quick break. I will make this mess go away. I'll put more mess in up here, so it'll be more fun, and then we'll resume. So 5-10 minutes. Everybody good with that? All right. Very cool. I'm going to pause the recording too, so we don't have to deal with that.